Spring rain had just ceased, leaving the streets of downtown Atlanta slick and glistening under the timid afternoon sun. Brayden Carson stood at the bus stop, his sharp eyes scanning the cityscape beyond the glass shelter. The latest board meeting's numbers and projections swirled in his mind, but something about the rhythm of the city today felt different. Charged, unsettled. His phone buzzed insistently in his jacket pocket, a reminder of the lunch meeting scheduled in less than 20 minutes. Brayden adjusted his expensive navy blazer and ran a hand through his close-cropped hair, trying to refocus. As he glanced up, his gaze caught a figure across the street, someone who seemed oddly familiar. The world around him stilled. Jada Miller was standing there, umbrella tucked under her arm, wiping raindrops from her forehead. Her dark curls, pulled loosely back now, framed a face that was both striking and tired. She looked up, and their eyes didn't meet. In that instant, the noise of the bustling city faded away, leaving only the pounding of Brayden's heart in his ears. It had been 3 years since he'd last seen her. 2 years since he left without a word, leaving behind more than just a broken promise. The woman he once loved, his college sweetheart, the woman he left pregnant. His breath caught. Memories flooded in, sharp and vivid like a fresh wound reopening. Brayden's mind drifted back to their college days, a time of youthful dreams and boundless possibilities. Jada was fierce, intelligent, and passionate about justice. She had spoken often about her dream of becoming an environmental lawyer, fighting for the planet's future. Brayden had admired that fire in her eyes. Together they had envisioned a life built on shared ambitions and love. Then came the news. The pregnancy. He remembered the night she told him. Her voice trembling but resolute, eyes wide with a mixture of fear and hope. Brayden's world tilted on its axis. He loved Jada, but the pressures from his family to focus on his burgeoning business career and to avoid scandal were overwhelming. The choice, he believed at the time, was clear. Even if it meant breaking her heart, he had left. Silent, distant, gone. Meanwhile, Jada faced the storm alone, her strength undeniable. She balanced 2 jobs while studying, raising their daughter, Alexandria, with unwavering love and fierce independence. Brayden had heard rumors, whispers of how Jada was surviving, thriving despite the odds, but he had buried the guilt deep beneath his polished exterior. Racing back to the present. Back at the bus stop, Brayden's composure cracked. The sharp business suit, the confident posture, all faded away under the weight of the years he had lost. A sudden wave of guilt and regret crashed over him, suffocating. His hands clenched into fists. How could he have been so blind? So selfish. He glanced again at Jada, who had moved on, unaware of his presence, focused on her own world, a world he abandoned. Tears threatened behind his eyes, and for a moment, Brayden's carefully constructed facade shattered. In the middle of the crowded street, amidst strangers rushing past, he broke down, silent sobs racking his body. He was a successful businessman, a man who commanded boardrooms and negotiated multi-million-dollar deals. But now he was just a man haunted by the past. Somewhere in this sprawling city, his daughter lived, his flesh and blood, and he had no idea if she even knew who he was. The realization struck him with crushing force. Brayden wiped his eyes quickly, swallowed hard, and forced himself to breathe. He couldn't undo the past, but maybe, just maybe, he could find a way to make things right. The early morning light filtered through the blinds of the modest apartment where Jada Miller lived with her daughter, Alexandria, Ali, as she affectionately called her. The small space bore the marks of a life built on sacrifice. A few scattered textbooks on law, a faded photo of her and Brayden from their college days, and a makeshift play corner for Ali. Jada's days were a whirlwind of relentless effort. By day, she worked as a dental assistant in a bustling clinic, her hands steady despite the exhaustion pulling at her every muscle. By night, she transformed into a hostess at a popular downtown restaurant, navigating the demands of impatient customers with practiced grace. All the while, she attended evening classes, determined to finish law school and secure a better future for herself and her daughter. Tess, a waitress at the restaurant, had become like family. a steady presence who offered quiet encouragement and sometimes a shoulder to lean on. "You're stronger than you think, Jada," Tess told her one late night after a particularly grueling shift. "Ally's lucky to have you." Jada nodded, her eyes tired but resolute. She carried herself with a quiet dignity, refusing to let the weight of her hardships show. Her love for Ally was the fuel that kept her going, the promise of a better tomorrow, the beacon through the darkest nights. Brayden's footsteps hesitated outside the restaurant as Jada stepped into the fading light. The years since they last spoke had carved lines not just on their faces but deep into their souls. He tried to steady his breath, but when their eyes locked, the dam broke. "Brayden," Jada's voice was cold, sharper than he expected. "What do you want?" He swallowed the lump in his throat. "I need to talk. Please." Her laugh was bitter, edged with pain. "Talk? After everything, do you even know what you've done? What you left behind?" Brayden's chest tightened. He nodded, but words caught in his throat. Jada's eyes glistened, tears threatening to spill. "You abandoned me, abandoned Ali. Left us alone in this world while you chased your rich boy life, your fancy meetings, your power plays. Did you even think once about what it would do to us?" Her voice cracked, raw with years of hurt. "I worked myself to the bone. 2 jobs, school, raising our daughter alone. I watched sleepless nights turn into lonely mornings. I was scared, broken, and every day I wished you'd come back." She took a shaky breath, voice rising with the weight of her pain. "But you didn't. You chose your life over us. And now you show up, expecting what? Forgiveness? For me to just welcome you back with open arms?" Brayden's eyes stung, but she wasn't done. "We don't need you," she said firmly. "Ali and I, we're surviving, thriving even, because we had to. You walked away, and we built our own world. A world where you don't exist." Her hands trembled, fists clenched by her sides. "Don't expect a second chance here. Not from me, not from Ali. You lost that the moment you left." The silence between them stretched heavy with unsaid words. Brayden's voice was barely a whisper. "I'm sorry. I know I don't deserve anything from you, but I want to try, to be there for Ali, to be there for you." Jada's stare hardened. "You want to try? Then prove it. But don't expect me to make it easy. You broke us." She turned sharply, walking away without looking back. Brayden stood frozen, the weight of her words sinking deep. This was no simple reunion. This was a reckoning. Brayden stood just outside the clinic where Jada worked, his heart pounding as he watched her move through the busy waiting room. Determined, he stepped inside, searching until he found Tess, the one person who seemed like family to Jada. "Tess," he began hesitantly, "I came to see Jada. I want to help, to be part of their lives." Tess looked at him, eyes sharp, pain flickering beneath the surface. "Brayden, what do you think about yourself, coming here like this?" He swallowed, unable to meet her gaze. "I know I failed them, but I want to make things right." She shook her head slowly, her voice low and steady but filled with raw honesty. "Jada's been holding everything, work, school, Ali's sickness, all on her own. You think a check can fix that? Money means nothing when there's no real support, no presence." Brayden's throat tightened. "I want to be there. Not just with money." Tess's stare pierced him. "Then show it. Don't just talk." Later that day, Brayden found Jada and Ali at the bus stop. Ali looked pale, clutching her stomach, eyes watery. Jada's face was tight with exhaustion and worry. "Hey," Brayden said softly, stepping closer. Jada's eyes narrowed, defensive. "What are you doing here?" Ali whimpered softly, and Jada's resolve faltered. "She's not feeling well." Brayden glanced at Ali, concern plain on his face. "Let me take you home. I want to help." Jada hesitated, pain and pride warring within her. Finally, with a reluctant nod, she said, "Okay, but only for Ali." As Brayden helped Ali into the car, Jada's eyes met his, a silent plea and challenge all at once. This was a fragile beginning, built on struggle, guarded hope, and the weight of what could be. Brayden's eyes were fixed on the rear window of his car, watching Ali curled up quietly in the back seat. Her small hand rested against the glass, pale and fragile. The way she looked so vulnerable tore at something deep inside him, a gnawing regret for every moment he'd lost. He glanced over at Jada, who sat rigid beside him, jaw clenched, eyes straight ahead. "I want to help," Brayden said quietly. "With her medical bills. Anything she needs." Jada didn't look at him. Her voice was sharp, cutting through the silence like a blade. "We don't need to talk. Just drive." The weight of those words settled heavily on him, but he nodded and kept his eyes on the road. When they arrived at Jada's apartment, Brayden gently lifted Allie from the car, cradling her limp body close. Jada opened the door just enough to let them in, but then closed it firmly in his face. "Wait," Brayden said, heart pounding. "Please, let me come inside. I want to be there for her, for you." Jada shook her head. "No, you don't get to walk back in like this. Besides, your investor's probably waiting for you to get back to work. You've got a life out there." She stepped back and closed the door completely, leaving Brayden standing in the dim hallway, breath caught in his chest. Determined, he slid his business card under the door. "If you need me, call." The next morning, Brayden was at the clinic, asking about Allie. Tess met him at the door, eyes dark with exhaustion and frustration. "Jada's not here. She's at the hospital. Allie's fever won't come down." Brayden's heart lurched. "Which hospital?" Tessa's voice softened, but the worry lingered. "Eastside Children's, the waiting room." Without hesitation, Brayden rushed to the hospital. Inside the sterile, crowded waiting room, chaos unfolded. Allie lay on the floor, body trembling violently as a seizure overtook her. Nurses and doctors rushed forward, voices calm but urgent. Brayden's eyes stayed locked on Allie as the doctors stabilized her. Brayden watched Jada closely as they rushed Allie through the hospital corridors. Despite the fear etched deep in her eyes, there was a steeliness in her posture he couldn't understand. How could she be so brave, so strong, carrying all this pain and still holding it together? She moved with quiet determination, barely glancing at him, but Brayden could see the flicker of vulnerability she tried desperately to hide. "Please," he whispered, voice raw with desperation, as nurses whisked Allie away to the emergency room. "Let me be there with you. Let me help, please." Jada's eyes met his for a brief moment, glossy and exhausted. Then she gave a small, almost imperceptible nod. She was too overwhelmed to speak, but her gesture said everything. Hours stretched on like an eternity. Brayden sat beside the small hospital bed, gently holding Allie's tiny, frail hands, watching her sleep. The rhythmic rise and fall of her chest was both a comfort and a torment. His mind raced with guilt over the time lost, moments he'd never get back. When the doctor finally called Jada into the conference room, Brayden remained by Allie's side, unwilling to leave her. The door closed behind Jada, and he felt every second of the silence in the waiting room. Minutes later, Jada returned, her eyes rimmed red and swollen. Brayden rose immediately, his heart pounding. Before he could say a word, she stumbled and collapsed into his arms, sobbing, "I can't lose my baby." Her body trembled against his, and he held her tightly, words failing him. The weight of her pain crushed him as much as Allie's illness. Later, the doctor explained with clinical calmness that pierced their hearts. Allie had acute lymphoblastic leukemia. There were options, treatments that could save her, but the road would be long and brutal. Brayden looked down at Allie's peaceful face and whispered, "We'll fight this together." Jada nodded into his chest, the fierce protector and the broken mother all at once. The sterile hospital room felt like a prison cage, cold and impersonal. But it was where their lives would now revolve. Jada sat beside Allie's bed, fingers intertwined with her daughter's tiny hand, watching the steady rise and fall of her fragile chest. Brayden stood quietly nearby, the weight of the diagnosis heavy on his shoulders. Allie's acute lymphoblastic leukemia meant grueling chemotherapy sessions, frequent blood tests, and long hospital stays. Doctors explained the treatment protocol, hopeful yet cautious. There was a chance to beat it, but the road would be long and exhausting. Jada's eyes never left Allie as she processed the news. Her lips pressed tightly together, masking the storm inside. She was determined, but the fear was undeniable. Brayden stepped forward, breaking the silence. "I'm going to be here for every appointment, every treatment. I'm done running from this." Jada looked up at him, vulnerability softening her fierce exterior. "We'll have to juggle so much. Appointments, school for Allie, my classes. We'll figure it out," Brayden said firmly. "I'll take time off. We're in this together." That night, the hospital corridors felt endless. Allie's chemotherapy began, and the harsh medications left her weak and nauseous. Jada never left her side, brushing damp strands of hair from her sweaty forehead, whispering words of comfort. Brayden sat nearby, reading aloud from a storybook, his voice shaky but determined. Days blurred into weeks. The treatments took their toll on Allie's small body, her bright eyes dimming, energy sapped. Jada's exhaustion deepened, working double shifts whenever possible, managing law school coursework, and now the constant care for Allie. Brayden saw Jada's strength, but also the cracks beneath. One evening, he found her alone in the hospital chapel, silent tears slipping down her cheeks. He approached quietly. "You don't have to be strong all the time." She looked up, raw and tired. "I have to be, for Allie. But sometimes, I just want to scream." Brayden pulled her into a hug, holding her like they were the only two people left in the world. "We'll get through this, together." Moments of hope. Slowly, amidst the hardship, small victories emerged. Allie's blood counts began to stabilize. She smiled faintly at Brayden when he brought her favorite stuffed animal. Jada managed to submit a critical law school paper between hospital visits. One afternoon, Brayden took Jada and Allie to Hospital Garden. The spring air was crisp, and for the first time in weeks, they felt a moment of peace. Allie's laughter, though soft, was a balm. "Jada, tell Brayden thanks for staying." Brayden says, "I am here to stay." Months of grueling treatment had finally brought signs of hope. Allie's energy was returning, her laughter more frequent, and the shadows under her eyes less pronounced. Doctors were optimistic, and the weight that had hung over them began to lighten, just enough to let a flicker of normalcy seep in. One afternoon, as they sat in the hospital waiting room, Brayden turned to Jada with a hesitant but determined smile. "I want you both to move in with me. It'll make things easier." Jada's heart tightened. The offer was generous, but the thought of merging their fractured lives stirred unease. "I need some time to think," she replied carefully, eyes steady. "It's not just about me." Later that evening, Jada called Tess, seeking counsel from the woman who had been her rock through it all. "Tess, what do you think? Moving in with Brayden?" Tess's voice was gentle but honest. "Jada, this isn't about you. It's about what's best for Allie. If you think Brayden can be part of her life in a real way, maybe it's worth considering." Jada sighed, conflicted but knowing Tess was right. It wasn't about her fears or pride, it was about Allie's future. Before leaving the hospital that day, Jada took a deep breath and set clear boundaries with Brayden. "I appreciate what you want to do," she said firmly. "But when it comes to Allie's daily care, I'm still in charge. You'll have to respect that." Brayden nodded without hesitation. "Understood. I'm here to support, not take over." Later, Brayden knelt beside Allie's hospital bed and asked shyly, "Will you teach me how to be a good dad?" Allie smiled, the warmth in her eyes a balm to his wounded heart. Slowly, Jada watched as Brayden and Allie began building their own language, a friendship forged in quiet moments, tentative trust growing between them. For Jada, trust didn't come easily. But seeing Brayden show up day after day, willing to learn and to stay grounded in their reality, softened the edges of her guarded heart. Together, they stepped into a new chapter, imperfect, uncertain, but hopeful. For nearly a month, Life in Brayden's penthouse had settled into a rhythm. Jada was cautious but impressed. Brayden followed every rule she'd set. No late nights, home by 5 p.m. sharp to spend time with Allie. He was present, attentive, and steadily earning small increments of trust. One Saturday afternoon, after ending a phone call, Brayden approached Jada in the living room, a flicker of unease shadowing his usually confident eyes. "What's wrong?" Jada asked, watching him carefully. He hesitated, then took a deep breath. "I told my parents about reconnecting with you and Allie. About her health, the treatments, everything." Jada's heart skipped. "And? What did they say?" Brayden's voice was quiet but steady. "They want to meet both of you. They want to help, provide whatever support is needed." Jada felt like the air had been knocked out of her. She sank onto the sofa, disbelief twisting inside her. "What's the catch?" she whispered, suspicion creeping in. "They didn't think I was good enough before. Why now?" Brayden shrugged, rubbing the back of his neck nervously. "I don't know. Maybe seeing Allie's illness changed something. Maybe they see that family matters more than appearances." Jada's mind raced. Memories of cold rejection and harsh judgments from Brayden's parents surfaced. Dismissive comments about her background, her ambitions, even about Allie being born out of wedlock. Could they have truly changed? Or was this some kind of calculated move? "They're flying in tomorrow morning, from France," Brayden added. "I wanted to tell you first." Jada sat silent, her emotions swirling, hope, fear, skepticism. She looked over at Allie, playing quietly in the corner, innocent and unaware of the storm brewing around her. "I don't know if I'm ready," Jada admitted softly. "What if they come here and try to take Allie away? Or worse, try to pressure you into decisions about her care or our lives?" Brayden stepped closer, reaching out to gently hold her hand. "They won't. I've made it clear you're in charge when it comes to Allie, and I'll protect you both." She searched his eyes, searching for the same certainty he was trying to project. "Whatever happens," Brayden said, voice firm, "we face it together. No secrets, no pretending." Jada took a deep breath, feeling the fragile thread of trust between them stretch but hold. "Okay," she said finally. "But we do this on our terms, no surprises." Brayden nodded, relief washing over his face. As night fell over the city, the looming arrival of Brayden's parents cast a long shadow, threatening to disrupt the tentative peace they'd fought so hard to build. But for now, Jada and Brayden held on to each other, readying themselves for whatever was to come. The morning sun spilled softly into Brayden's penthouse, casting warm light over a room filled with tension and anticipation. Jada stood by the window, nervously adjusting Allie's little jacket as the elevator dinged, announcing the arrival of Brayden's parents. Brayden opened the door before they could knock, his usually composed father stepping inside first, followed by his mother. Both looked older than their pictures had suggested, lined with years of stress and guarded emotions. "We wanted to come in person," his father began, voice sincere. "To apologize for how we treated you, Jada." Jada's eyes widened. She hadn't expected this. Brayden exchanged a glance with his father, who took a deep breath before continuing. "We were under enormous pressure to push Brayden into the company's leadership quickly," his father explained. The board was restless, but there was more to it. Brayden's brow furrowed. "What do you mean?" His father's gaze darkened, shadowed by old wounds. "I was being blackmailed over past contracts, some shady deals I'd made long ago. Someone wanted me gone." Brayden's voice tightened. "Why the rush to push me in then?" "We moved to France to escape the pressure and the blackmailer," his father said quietly. "But you've proved to be a better man than I ever was." Brayden leaned in, curiosity and relief mingling. "What happened to the blackmailer?" His father's lips pressed into a thin line. "The threat vanished soon after we left. We recently learned it was Manda Ross." Jada's eyes sharpened. "Manda Ross? The woman who wanted her daughter to marry Brayden?" His father nodded. "Yes, When Brayden chose you instead of her daughter, Manda and her family tried to advance themselves in the company. But we had allies, people who recognized their intentions and were already closing in. Brayden let out a long breath. So that's why she suddenly stepped down, claiming personal matters. Exactly, his mother said, eyes softening as she looked at Jada. We never disapproved of you. My mother was a waitress before she married into money. I know what it's like to be underestimated. Jada felt a lump rise in her throat. His mother continued. I only hope that you and Brayden can find your way, not just as co-parents, but as a family, to build a real relationship, beyond the hardships and mistakes. Jada smiled, her heart touched by the genuine warmth in those words. May I hold my grandbaby? She asked gently, nodding toward Allie. Jada hesitated for just a moment before carefully lifting Allie into her arms. The Allie stirred, eyes brightening as she looked up at her grandmother. The room seemed to hold its breath. Tears glistened in Brayden's mother's eyes as she cradled Allie close. She's perfect. Brayden watched the scene, the walls he'd built around his family slowly starting to come down. Jada met his eyes, and for the first time in a long while, there was no distance, only the fragile hope of healing. After Jada gently laid Allie down for her afternoon nap, Brayden's parents invited him into the study, a quiet, wood-paneled room filled with memories and family heirlooms. His father excused himself, leaving Brayden alone with his mother. She reached into a small velvet box and opened it to reveal an intricate ring, a delicate filigree band with a deep sapphire nestled at its center. This, she said softly, has been passed down through generations. Your great-great-grandmother wore it. Brayden's fingers brushed the cool metal reverently. For me? For you and Jada when the time is right, she said with a gentle smile. A symbol of love and commitment. A reminder of the family you're building. Brayden's heart tightened. I'm still trying to win her trust. I don't know if I'm ready for something like this. His mother's eyes twinkled. That's where you have to take a step farther. Show her you mean more than words. Take her out on a proper date. A few days later, Brayden nervously asked Jada out to dinner, an intimate table at a quiet bistro where the city lights flickered through the windows. Jada studied him carefully, weighing the sincerity in his eyes. Would you consider a future with me? Brayden asked, voice steady but hopeful. Where there's more than just co-parenting? Jada took a breath. We can try, one day at a time. Give us a year. Then we can review this conversation. Brayden nodded, relief and determination mingling inside him. 1 year, he agreed. Exactly 1 year after their quiet dinner at the bistro, a year filled with challenges, breakthroughs, and moments that quietly knitted their lives closer, Brayden found himself back at the same table, the sapphire ring burning a promise in his pocket. The city lights twinkled outside, mirroring the nervous hope shining in his eyes. Jada arrived, radiant in a simple but elegant dress, her smile soft but sure. As they settled into their seats, the air between them was charged with unspoken memories and new beginnings. Brayden reached across the table, his hand enveloping hers, steadying both of their nerves. Jada, he began, voice thick with emotion, these past 12 months have been the hardest and the most important of my life. You and Allie have shown me what family truly means. He pulled out the velvet box and opened it, revealing the sapphire ring that had belonged to his great-great-grandmother. I want to move forward with you, not just as co-parents, but as partners, as a family. Jada's eyes glistened with tears. After a moment that felt suspended in time, she whispered, yes. Let's take this next step, together. They smiled, relief and hope blooming between them, ready to face the future side by side. 4 months later, a soft spring breeze fluttered through the garden of a charming historic estate nestled on the outskirts of Atlanta. White roses and delicate greenery framed the aisle, where family and close friends gathered, their faces beaming with joy and anticipation. Jada stood backstage, her hands trembling slightly as she adjusted the lace of her wedding gown. Simple, timeless, and perfectly her. Her eyes searched the room, catching a glimpse of Allie playing quietly nearby, holding Brayden's hand. Brayden waited at the altar, the heirloom sapphire ring now on his finger, shining as brightly as the hope in his heart. He watched Jada approach, every step a testament to the journey they had survived and the love that had grown through the storm. When she reached him, Brayden took both her hands, his voice steady and filled with tenderness. "Jada, from the moment I met you again, I knew that this family, our family, was worth fighting for. I promised to stand by you and Allie, to love you fiercely, and to build a life of honesty, respect, and joy." Jada smiled, tears slipping freely now. "I promise to trust you, to share every moment, good and bad, and to cherish this family we've created." As the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, cheers erupted, echoing the triumph of a love that had weathered so much. During the reception, under twinkling fairy lights, Brayden and Jada shared their first dance, Allie nestled in Jada's arms, giggling as the music swirled around them. Brayden whispered softly, "We did it." Jada smiled warmly. One day at a time. The night was filled with laughter, stories, and the unshakable promise of a future where love and family conquered all. 6 years had passed since that unforgettable day when Brayden and Jada vowed their lives to each other. The years had been filled with challenges, growth, and the steady weaving of a family bound by love and resilience. Now, their home echoed with the laughter and cries of a 1-year-old boy, Elijah, bright-eyed and full of curious energy. Allie, now a confident and spirited 8-year-old, was a doting big sister, always eager to show her baby brother the wonders of the world. Jada moved gracefully through their bustling household, balancing the joys and demands of motherhood with her role as the environmental lawyer for the family's foundation, a position she embraced with passion and purpose. Her work championed sustainable initiatives, reflecting the dreams she had held since her college days. At the foundation's sleek offices, Jada was known for her fierce dedication and unwavering integrity. She fought tirelessly to protect the environment, navigating complex legal landscapes while mentoring young women eager to follow her path. Brayden admired her daily, the way she managed their family, her career, and her compassion, with a strength that inspired him endlessly. One quiet evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Brayden sat on the porch, watching Jada play with Allie and Elijah in the yard. The warmth of the moment filled him with gratitude. They had come so far, from fractured beginnings and painful goodbyes, to this peaceful, thriving life. And as they looked toward the future, hand in hand, they knew their story was just beginning. Hope you enjoyed this story. Help our channel to grow with like, share and subscribe to Green Tea Tales. Thank you.